wish I knew who the person was. So, Reverend, I want y'all just fight. And James Brown going to use Chicago Fest as the Queen's coronation to fight back.
Come on.
And boycott it. I wanted to say, be rational, man. You can't boycott Chicago Fest. Stevie Wonder and all that, and free beer and free hot dogs and all that, and free transportation. My mind said it doesn't make sense, but my spirit said, if it's right, it can't be wrong. That's in my movement spirit. We met in this room. Leon, in this room right here, and organized, enough is enough.
Yes, sir.
But that Sunday morning, we had t-shirts downstairs, enough is enough, and that began to boycott Chicago Fest. Harold came one day, kicking and screaming, said, I don't want to run for mayor, I got a good job in the Congress. And finally got me a good job. But if I do run, I need you to do three. I need a poll that says that somebody can get more than just a black vote. 50,000 new votes show me you can work. Raise $250,000 on the table, and I'll come back to you. Fact is, we raised 500,000, they have 8,000. Put on 400,000 new voters. Had a little convention. Harold became the winner because we decided that we were going to do it that way. I could have run, Manfred Burr could have run, or Roland Burris. So we made a decision to close ranks, right? That's how it went, right? And out of that came that at that time when Harold won, it was so new and so much fear. The day of his inauguration, the Act 29 started their war that day. It's not likely to happen May 20th because things have changed in so many ways since that time. 87, Harold died quickly. We lost our minds again. And lost City Hall for 20 years. The most radical folk in town filed a lawsuit begging to get Sawyer out. Saying they were doing radical God daily. Broke my heart. I'm trying to say something, friend. We've been here before.
Yes, sir.
Children of Israel got out of slavery, got to Canaan, got to the wilderness and lost their minds. There are 10 commandments and a lot of struggle, 40 years to get them from the riverbank to the city. We've been here, we said we've been here before.
Been here before.
Been here before. I had a choice of candidates in this race. I chose not to promote a campaign feeder because I knew April 3rd was coming. Somebody who's been around enough, old enough, had to figure how do we heal some wounds. There's some wounds in here today. There's some fears and some heartaches, fear, what does this mean? I talked to somebody a couple of days, they said, well, I was with Lori, but I don't know her. I said, you better get to know her, because if you win, she will not be looking for her. So yesterday is gone, today is here, tomorrow is not promised. And so now, let's seize this day. A couple of observations about push, and we'll on the ask that we recognize, and especially Sister Toni. When the school breaks next week for the spring season, we're sending 4 buses of our kids' HBCUs across the South. 4 buses. We're giving them almost $500,000 in scholarships per year. We intend to raise $1 million this year. Our convention is June 28th through July the 2nd. We'll talk more about that in days to come. But Chicago has a unique opportunity in Illinois to make a statement about who we are. I mean, from Emmett Till to last night was a long way. You hear me? As I look at how many of us have been around this ballpark before, I said to Sister Toni in our little private prayer meeting, we maintain communication through all of this, that a woman in Arizona lost the race and gained points by how gracefully she handled defeat. She became number one leader in the state by how she lost. So God can take a crooked stick to a straight leg. Nothing is too hard for God. The same people who rejoiced at the victory last night of Lori, they're gonna skip right past Kim and try to remove Toni too. If they sense any gap in our enthusiasm, Toni will be next.
That's right.
If we close the gap, it won't happen.
That's right.
So Toni is
Toni is
chair. We call it president, Cook County Board, Cook County Democrats. We shall fight for the maintain or gain. Put your hands together. Lori one in the hall, 5th floor, Toni the other, and there will not be a shootout at OK Corral. So they'll be working together with civility and care and love for the people. Sometimes I think God blesses us so fast it makes us dizzy. We approach Dr. King's assassination anniversary tomorrow, Brother Brazier, Brother Ackman. We had 7 black congressmen. He was killed. We got 55. Most of us don't know the name of 15 of them. They come so fast. The chair of committees, sub-chairs of committees, blessings beyond our capacity to count the blessings. You look up in this state, Lieutenant Governor, African American, Secretary of State, right about that, City Treasurer, County Clerk, State's Attorney, Clerk of the Court, and so forth. So those blessings must benefit everybody, not bragging rights for a few. Our blessings must benefit everybody, not bragging rights for a few. Our hashtag should be 30, our hashtag 50, 77. 50 wards, 77 communities. We have the capacity to represent everybody. Put your hand together, that makes sense. Love you, Sister Dawn. I saw Jamal Green here, Monica. Where is he? They're on the stage, so happy that he's Reverend Jackson down on the stage. Laura will be here in a little bit. What we're trying to do, Bennett, if it works out, is for her to give a State of the City address Saturday morning. She has some good stuff. Toni has some good stuff, and then we combine that and make better stuff. Something has gone awry when we have these huge gaps on the south and west side. Some have been gaps since 1968. We're going to change that. It's not going to change. It's not going to change by gentrification. It's going to change because we have a plan to build houses and businesses and get capital. Well, I saw Toni's guy walking. I mean, come on down here, man. You were so good last night. Real big hand. Put your hand together. Give him another. You were good last time, man. Brother Neville, stand. Supreme Court man, stand up, give me a hand. If God today will cleanse our spirit and make our spirits right. I said to some of my friends last night, was supporting Laura, I said, this is no time for retributive justice. This is time for inclusive justice. No time retribution. Now, if you be like Donald Trump, my crowd won, the rest of y'all lost. So Trump really is president of all the people, but he can't see past his base. He looks at America through a keyhole, not through a door. Our mayor must see all of Chicago. All who voted belong to her. Our county must see Toni Preckwinkle as I give her a hand. I'm going to say it again, again, and again, and again. Laura's about 10 minutes out, and I want us in a moment. Where's that little thing we had y'all sign Saturday morning, Tony? Who has it? Don? Don? Jeanette? Have you all abandoned me? Bob from Labor, come and have a word. Flager, next, come Bob. Come and say something to us. Labor man.
I think this is a great day for possibilities of the future. I'm excited about where we can go, and as President Preckwinkle said last night, the path forward that I think we got to work on now. We have to understand something, though. Chicago made a decision last night, but understand there's going to be a whole lot of folk. They're going to do whatever they can do to take out Kim Foxx, take out Toni Preckwinkle, and sabotage Lori Lightfoot. So we have no time to play games. And we have no time, we got to clean the slate, and this is a time to come together and join together. Business community need to become partners. Faith community needs to be conscience and a covering for all our elected officials. Elected officials got to decide we're going to get on a team to do what's best for Chicago. There's only one thing that matters right now: the city of Chicago citizens. That's got to be the issue. And equaling this unequal playing field that's been going on for decades on the south and the west side, it is time to fill in the holes, level the mountains, and give everybody a chance. The problems are massive. Let's face it, the problems are massive in this city, in this county, in this state, in this country. But I happen to be a prisoner of hope because I come from faith. And I believe that if we all come together across all our boundaries and all our lines and do what's best for the people of Chicago, Chicago ain't seen nothing yet than what it's getting ready to see in the future. As Reverend Jackson we got all these officers. There's a whole lot of people that look like me. Dorothy, that woke up this morning saying, what the hell happened in Chicago and in Illinois? All I can say to you, my brothers and sisters, it's a new day. Welcome home.
Rob Ryder, Secretary of Federation of Labor, and you next, Bennett, you have something to say. Ryder? Bennett, you say something next.
Thank you, Reverend Jackson. My name is Bob Reiter. I'm president of the Chicago Federation of Labor. We represent 300 unions that represent 500,000 working women and men here in Chicago and the surrounding area. We are a part of the community as you are a part of the community. We represent everyone from airline pilots to zookeepers to people in these neighborhoods who work to keep our buildings clean, who build our buildings, who work in manufacturing, and we are the ones who help to work with you to bring people into the middle class. Working class Chicago is what's important coming out of this mayoral election. I think whether you follow Toni Preckwinkle or you follow Lori Lightfoot, the message was cleared. We need to lead from the neighborhoods. We need to make sure that we create opportunities for the children of Chicago. And we all need to work together. And let me tell you something, and I want to be very clear about this. I consider Toni Preckwinkle a friend and ally. I have from the beginning through this day, and I will going forward. Toni Preckwinkle has fought to maintain and grow our health system here in the city. She has fought to protect those who many look away from, and we need to make sure that we give her the power to continue to do the things that she's done to strengthen not just this county, but more specifically this city. And I look to continue that strong partnership with Toni and make sure that we all do what we can to support her. But we also have a new mayor, Lori Lightfoot, and I've had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Lori over the course of these so many months. I think Lori shares the same vision that I share for this city, that you share for this city, and for what Toni shares for this city. And working together, we need to realize that dream where we're working from the neighborhoods and we're promoting and protecting the youth of this city. So I look forward as a representative of the labor movement to be that partner, to be that continued partner for Toni Preckwinkle at the county board, and also to be that partner for Lori Lightfoot at City Hall. But the mandate is clear. No matter what I say from this podium or what our county board president or our new mayor say, we need to lead from this community. This city needs to be stronger, not just for one of us, but for all of us. Thank you.
You know, as Benny comes, y'all heard I have the Parkinson's. I now have I'm approaching a heart problem now. I want to raise a collection so bad my heart's hurting. I can't, but it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart not to raise the collection now. Brother Bennett, give Brother Bennett a big hand.
Good morning. I want to first start by thanking Reverend Jackson and Rainbow Push for pulling this together. What they're absolutely correct about is, you know, it's time now for us to come together and figure out how do we work together to save this city and this county. How do we work together to make sure that those individuals, the citizens that don't have the voice are heard. And I want to also make sure that we commend Lori Lightfoot and her campaign on a great campaign. President, I'm honored to have served as chair for President Preckwinkle. President Preckwinkle is going to continue the work that she's done in terms of strengthening health care, in terms of making sure that police are accountable and that relationships are built in our communities between police and those that they represent in our community. But what I want to make sure that we understand too is the election was yesterday, but the real work that we have to do starts today. Where we're blessed is we have two giants that represent us, both Lori Lightfoot and President Toni Preckwinkle. And we have to stand behind them to make sure their voices are heard on the behalf of everyone. So once again, thank you, Reverend, for pulling this together, and we look forward to working with everyone. Thank you. God bless.
The mayor's a few minutes away. Look, tomorrow at 5:30, we were in Memphis On the way there, this time in 1960, Dr. King was killed about 5 minutes after 6. So tomorrow at 5, to let us regroup tomorrow in his honor. He will live as long as we remember him. We must not forget. Chicago is a city he invests in the urban sense. We see fruits of his labor. 3 centers, press, all this stuff comes out of the 66, Leon, all this comes out of the 66 movement. So all of what we're doing today comes out of Dr. King's work in 66. He cut the grass, planted the seeds, then we see fruits from that plant. Great leaders plant seeds that grow trees on whose limbs they may never sit. And so and so tomorrow, those who can meet us at 5:30. Jonathan, say a little something, son.
Thank you, Tony, our county president, Ms. Toni Preckwinkle, to our mayor-elect, Ms. Lightfoot. As the national spokesperson for the Rainbow Push Coalition, I would just like to put some of this in context where the city and the state is economically. That we have the honor of having the president of the second largest county in America in Ms. Toni Preckwinkle. I want to talk about, just briefly before the mayor comes, the challenges that she faces that we have to get on board. When you have a judicial system that locks up too many young men and does not make station adjustments, Mr. Smollett's case never had to get to the district attorney's office. It could have stopped at the state's attorney's office. Now, when people go to Lollapalooza and all these baseball games, those persons that get drunk, inebriated, shall I say, go to the police station. They don't get a DUI and don't get charged. They have a station adjustment. It's never on their record. And eventually it's called a juvenile indiscretion. But the point is that now we're seeing a county budget where we're going to have more retirees, persons drawing out of our system, 127,000 rising, versus putting into the system. This is not a problem that the president created. It's one that she's inherited. We have an incredible shrinking city. The city of Chicago peaked in 1950 at 3.8 million residents. That has to deal with our rail lines, our water lines, our sewer lines, our streets. Now the city is 2.6 million residents. We are the incredible shrinking city, but our costs have to be spread out over the land mass area for 3.8 million persons. Los Angeles has grown consistently for 70 years. New York City has grown consistently for 70 years. African Americans used to have 1.2 million residents, and now the census is projecting by 2030 there'll be 600,000 African American residents in 2030. We have an automatic state pension increase in our state legislature down in Springfield for 3% automatic increases. That is going to have to be challenged. The math simply does not work. I just want to share this with you that when the city of Chicago under the previous administration spent $750 million over 7 years in police misconduct, that is why our children don't have money for summer jobs. That is a strain on the president of the county board's budget and having to feed the prison system that she has to manage statutorily, meaning she has no discretion on the funding. It has to go within compliance. And when people come out of our county and use our medical system and she has to fight the waste, abuse, and fraud, that's a challenge that she has to incur on behalf of all of us. And we've seen the tension that's rising with the Mr. Smollett case. That's not about this man and whatever story he told. It's something deeper and seated. And our city budget spending $1.2 to $1.6 billion on the police budget every year. There's no budget line item that says teachers can have a pay overtime, but you have it for the police department. So I want to see the spirit of the city change and go in the right direction. These ladies have mounting issues. And it's unfair that when they get their power is when the city is at its lowest. So I think that is when we're going to have to be at our best. And no, we've got some heavy lifting to do. The pension burden that's coming on the city, is over $1 billion a year annually. The mayor daily ran up, the Rahm Emanuel ran up, and these ladies now have to pay for it. So I'm not running for office, and certainly not at this time. But let me tell you one thing. The city now has to raise an additional $1 billion a year. That's why you pay a nickel for your bottle of water. And we have a freshwater lake. The Great Lakes have 20% of all the fresh water in the world, and we have to pay extra money for it, Dad. DuSable would cry. We've got to, Rahm Emanuel, in all fairness, I don't think he wanted to put all those cameras out. He didn't know where to find the money. And both of our leaders are going to have to entertain the idea of taxes. It's going to get tough before we do a turnaround, and they're going to have to get some relief from the governor and downstate as well. So I don't want us to leave here seeing somebody picked apart and a finger. They've got some red ink ahead of them structurally. And it's on both sides, and the way politics go, can you take a little more city? Can you take a little more county? Can you take a little more state? All those tensions are going to be natural on trying to serve their constituents. So I don't believe either one has malice in their hearts. And let's not overreact to one thing. We're winning, and God bless you.
A lot of these are Maryland cats. I saw you. Who's Maryland? Cats. Maryland Company. Dorothy, come up here first. Dorothy Brown. Unless somebody gets caught stealing and shoot somebody, it is not newsworthy. These people work hard every day. Dorothy Brown has worked diligently on expunging folks' records. Say when people have records, they pay more for less, live under stress, and don't live as long. That's significant. It ain't no 30-second snatcher. It's real work. Dorothy Brown, say something to us, please, while we wait for
Good morning, everyone. I am really elated to be here. I feel that this is a very dynamic moment in the history of Chicago. And I just believe that a lot of children woke up this morning with hope. Because that's what it's all about. Giving our children hope. Hope for a better education. Hope for being able to live in an area where they do not have to fear crime. And in an area where there's economic development. So this is the time for us to work together. And come together and work together for the betterment of the city of Chicago, and so that our children can continue to have that hope, and that they can dream. And so I want to say to Madam President, I look forward to working with you at the Cook County Board as we continue our criminal justice reform and making things better for the citizens of Cook County. I have two announcements. You know, I work with expungements, and I look at it from a standpoint of, yes, there's disproportionate minority confinement, but we also have to look at those folk that are already out that possibly should not have been put in the first place. Okay, so I'm helping them. I've been helping them. I'm a national leader in the expungement area. And so we have our annual expungement summit coming up on the first Saturday in June 1st. And this year, we're going to have pre-registration. People are going to have to go and pre-register, and because we want to be able to help as many people as possible. They can go online to my website at cookcountyclerkofcourt.org, but there's also going to be 3 sites throughout the city of Chicago, one in Inglewood, one in the far south side, and one on the west side, that will be registering in person, because everyone may not necessarily know how to go on the computer or may not have access to a computer. So that information will be available on my website, and we'll be passing out flyers in that regard. Teamwork Inglewood is one of them. And so I don't want to announce them today, but the exact locations today, but just look for that information. And then secondly, if you ever got a moving violation, Oh, okay. Okay. And you didn't pay your bill. And you didn't pay your fine. We're having an amnesty week on April 5th. Now, it's going to be for you to be able to not have to pay the late fees. Not your entire fine, but your late fees. And that's going to be April 15th to April 19th. You can come to any of our courthouses, regardless, throughout the city of Chicago, and pay your traffic ticket without having to pay the late fees, because you all know that the late fees can really add up. And so this is your time. Let your relatives and friends know, and let's just move forward today in unity. God bless.
Mayor's Council, let me say this to you. Last week, when the war was on, police ticketed all the cars that pushed and booted our cars. We want redemption. They ain't never done it before. As we try to be half slick and half angry. We don't want to get into no firing the police program. We're trying to do the right thing, but to do the right thing for everybody, it starts with us. When the mayor, ministers, please stand. Ministers, please stand. Ministers, stand. Sister Marilyn Katz, when Laura, I want the ministers to stand up here behind them, and they signed last week this pledge to have the press conference, and Toni has honored it, and the mayor's going to honor it. This is a big, bold action for us. There's no fight to cover. It says time for healing. Marilyn Katz.
Well, I can say that in the 50 years I've been marching with Jesse, I haven't grown much except in stature. But that is the point. We talk about hope for young people. One of the hopes is for change. One of the hopes is to live a life that has meaning, consistency, and a moral core. So I look around this room, and when I was 18, I was marching in Marquette Park with many of the people here. And then when I came back to the city, I saw many of these people in a room in January at Jackie Grimshaw's house, and we launched Harold Washington's successful campaign for mayor. And we built and we enlarged democracy in the city through that. We brought a Toni Preckwinkle to power. We brought the most progressive city council it had ever seen. We brought the most progressive congressional delegation in the United States that's still there. And then, in 2002, we called all these folks together, and we held a rally against Bush's war in Iraq before it had started. And there, these same folks, I call it the first demonstration by email, launched both the movement against the war, but the campaign and the career of Barack Obama. And then, and let's hear for that, which we brought to the Senate and then to the presidency. And I want to remind people, they talk about Chicago as the most retrograde city in the country, but guess what? No other major U.S. city has that kind of record. No U.S. city has the leadership of black women as we've got. And it is both to the credit, to the talent of the folks who've been fighting for this for 50 years, and to... We forget that when we elected Harold Washington, we got 12% of the white vote. And now we have people throughout the city, white, Hispanic, African American, voting for unity, voting for a future that is diverse, ethnically, racially, sexually. So thank you. And now it's up to us.
Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be, but let me hear you scream.
together. Put your hands together. And Tony, we love you. This here was President Toni Preckwinkle.
Good morning. Good morning. I want to thank Reverend Jackson for bringing us all together. I appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm grateful for the good work that Operation Push does each and every day. And the work that they've done, of course, over the decades to support our community and to stand strong for civil rights for all of our residents. I appreciate it. I called Mayor-elect Lightfoot last night to congratulate her. It's been a hard-fought campaign. And I think it's worth noting that we outlined some of the same challenges, particularly investments in our neighborhoods, many of whom have struggled for decades with disinvestment and neglect. We talked about strengthening our neighborhood public schools and addressing the challenges of police-community relations.
Come on. We need to hurry up.
And I pledged to work with her on addressing all of those challenges while I continue the work of the county, providing access to quality health care for our residents, and of course, working on criminal justice reform. Hallmarks of the life. I want to thank all of the folks who came out yesterday to vote in our elections. I want to thank in particular the volunteers and staff in my campaign. Ken is here, Ken Bennett is here, our campaign chair. I'm grateful to him and to all of you in this room who lent a hand. We have some real challenges ahead of us in our county and our city. And I look forward to working with Mayor-elect Lightfoot to address those challenges. Thank you.
We have been blessed with double portion spirit. And you the level of maturity and stability today. We're blessed with two strong women who have great tasks and mountains to climb. Give them the joy, the love, and the support they need. Progress is not a straight road, not a straight line. There'll be some curves, there will be some potholes here and there. We'll send them to the thick and thin of things. And through the day, and we thank God for blessing us today in a special way. Our new mayor, mayor of our life.
I will, of course, begin by congratulating and thanking President Preckwinkle on her candidacy. She deserves our respect. And she will have my personal commitment.
Come on. Come on.
As she just indicated, she and I share many of the same policy goals, from criminal justice reform to living wages to equitable investment in our neighborhoods. And while this was a spirited campaign, those shared values will serve us well as we work together for the good of the city and the good of the county.
Right.
I look forward to collaborating with President Preckwinkle to advance a progressive agenda, not only here in the city and the county, but also in Springfield, including an elected and representative school board, ending cash bond, and implementing a fair tax. These and other reforms will transform the lives of people who look like us, transform the lives of working families like the one that I grew up in. Today is April 3rd, a new day for all of Chicago. And I'm looking forward to the future. I'm looking ahead to hard work in the coming weeks and to collaborating with President Preckwinkle and other elected officials to bring the change that Chicagoans voted for and that we so desperately need. Thank you.
Just a few minutes. The press will ask a few questions, only the press, and y'all behave. Yeah.
Mayor-elect, how do you bring all of these factions and the activists who have been so vocal? How do you bring them together?
Look, I think in the spirit of cooperation, and today's event is a good first start. We have lots of shared issues and concerns, and we've got to make sure that we're focused on doing the work of the people. We're not going to always agree on every issue, but I think if we open up government, put people first, and come together in a spirit of cooperation, we're going to go a long way in bringing folks together. So I feel very confident about that.
Mayor-elect, you have a mandate. You referred to the word mandate. What do you plan to do with it?
Take full advantage of it. Mayor Rahm Emanuel is going to be leaving office with a lot of unfinished business, and I think it's going to be really important upon us to deliver on the mandate that we've been given. Honeymoons come and go, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to really breathe life into the historic nature of this election with 2 African American women running. That is a huge change in our city, which we cannot underestimate. But we've got a lot of hard work ahead to keep our streets safe, to make sure that we're bringing great quality education to every neighborhood, investing in our people. There's a lot on our list, and we're going to hit the ground running. We've already started our transition work today, and we'll be revealing more about that over time.
Excuse me, street safety, as far as when you take over the office, the concern from particularly the black community is, will there be fair and diverse representation of senior leadership positions when you take the office of mayor?
Well, of course, diversity matters to me. I'm a black woman in the city. I've lived here for 22 years. I know the challenges that many people are facing coming from a low-income, working-class family as I have. I got into this race almost a year ago to make sure that I was speaking for people whose voices needed to be heard. So, of course, diversity matters. It will be, you'll see it as we start rolling out nominations and appointments to various positions. But I want to make sure that we are good and just and inclusive of every neighborhood in Chicago. That's right. If you look at what happened last night, I got a mandate from change from every corner of the city, and we want to make sure that we're being true to that by being inclusive in important positions in government. I'm sorry, say it again. Yes.
Congratulations. Just a question. Do you have an advisor for the Hispanic community immigrant issues? And what are your plans for the Hispanic community?
So we have a lot of folks from the Latinx community that have been working on our campaign. My campaign manager is Manuel Perez. Chuy Garcia, I believe, will figure prominently in a lot of the work that we do. In a number of different communities, I want to make sure, of course, the Latinas are also included at the table. That's important to me. But yeah, we are going to have an administration and a plan that looks like Chicago, and of course that means including the important Latinx community. And as you know, it's a very diverse community, and we're going to make sure that we have all facets of it included in the ways in which we govern.
Mayor-elect, will you bring the Obama Presidential Center to Jackson Park?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Will you bring the Obama Presidential Center to Jackson Park?
Well, look, there's a lot of ink that's been spilled looking at that issue. I'm looking forward to meeting with both sides or multiple sides to sit down and understand the nuances that have not been reported in the media. But look, we should be grateful that the Presidential Center is coming here, but we need to make sure that we give justice to the people in those communities. We can't have development mean displacement.
Right.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Is both sides of the other side of the lawsuit?
Well, I think there are a lot of people who are stakeholders, people that haven't spoken up, but people who are living in those communities and want to make sure that they're not going to be displaced by the development. We have to make sure that we are looking to and taking care of those folks as well. I'm sorry, Craig, can you repeat it?
Why did it take so long for Chicago to finally elect mayor? You know why.
I can't look into the crystal ball, right? All I can do is the here and now. Here I am, and now we move forward. I'm sorry?
How are you going to empower the transgender community, particularly trans people of color?
Well, first of all, we got to make sure that transgender people are safe in our city. As you well know, there were 2 transgender women that were killed last year. Their murders go unsolved, and I think it's critically important that we make sure that the police department is doing everything it can to protect all communities, particularly our transgender community. I'm meeting with the superintendent and his team this afternoon, and it will certainly be an issue that I raise. I want to understand what progress has been made there. We have a number, as you know, we have a number of unsolved homicides in our city, and I've met with countless mothers who have lost their children, and we have to do a better job. 17% homicide clearance rate is fundamentally unacceptable, and we will change that around.
Last question.
What are the 3 most important things that happened in the first 100 days of your new administration?
Well, the first 100 days for me begins today. We have to get a handle on the violence. We have to make sure that we are doing everything we can to rebuild our network of public schools. We need to make sure that we have that we are a welcoming community for immigrants that come to us from all across the world. And obviously, we've got to get a handle on municipal finance issues. Thank you. Thank you all.
Let me make a concern as our leaders prepare to leave unencumbered. I've asked the mayor of our city to consider coming here Saturday morning and giving the state of the city address. She said she will. I want to make sure all of you who have a question or concern, write it down. Renee, will you help me, please? And come here, please, Renee. Much lawyer, President of the County, Cook County. If you have a question, whatever it may be, submit it now. To get, she can process answers when they're written down. I want us to bow our heads in prayer as we leave as we came. Where's Reverend Hatch?
We're going to ask that everyone would just touch someone next to them this afternoon. we remember the name of Laquan McDonald. The innocent blood of an orphan, a ward of the state, that was killed by an officer of the state, and whose name and whose humanity should have been thrown away, except there is a God above who says that the stone that the builders reject will become the chief cornerstone. And it's because of that blood that these doors have been opened, this opportunity has been opened for a new day for all of Chicago. God, we thank you for these public servants. We thank you for their heart. We thank you for the passion that you've given both of them for the people. We thank you for President Preckwinkle. We thank you for Mayor-elect Lori Lightfoot, who's demonstrated over and over again that she understands the pain of those who have suffered, those who have been overlooked, those who have been locked out and in many cases run out of this town. But we thank you that you always give us a reason to hope in the midst of our despair. And just 51 years ago, you sent another preacher that decreed and declared in a dark moment at a sanitation strike in Memphis that God, you're the one who allows us to see lands of promise, even in the midst of our despair. So we thank you that we stand on another mountaintop, the mayor-elect, and we pray that you will allow her to govern with fairness, with equity, the South and the West Side and the North Side, and all over the city will be one even playing field. That no longer will zip code determine life options for innocent children. That God, you will allow justice to roll down like waters, and righteousness a mighty stream. Now thank you for Reverend Jackson, and for his continuing ministry, for allowing him to be one who helps us to see our way through, even in times like this. Now, God, we still hear the song that many of us learned in Sunday school. This little light of mine. You gave each of us a light. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. In the name of the one who says, as you've done unto the least of these, you've done it unto me. And every heart said, amen. Amen.
Let us stand together. Let's stand together. Let's allow Mayor and our county president to leave in perfect peace. Before you got to this, it's like when we made the declaration here, we know that, please, the media has a role to play in this agenda, and so does the corporate community. Let me say in a hurry. You buy your spouse a $50,000 diamond ring, you're happy and she's excited. Someone will say get it insured. Someone will close their eyes and say it's worth $25,000. No matter how much we protest, they've been insured their praise value. Say the media has appraisal power. It must appraise us fairly. Sister Lightfoot and Toni, want y'all to go ahead and speak, please. You got a question and bring it on down here. A mass meeting with the mayor on Saturday morning.
Question? My question is, will Superintendent Amy Johnson return the job?
Everybody, Lori just told me if you have questions, you might want to send them online to info, I-N-F-O, @lightfoot.com. And then, of course, I'm happy to stand here and take anything you've written out, any of your wonderful questions.